Recent polls show that about 80% of all Americans believe in the existence of God. If you throw in those who may shy away from the word God, but who would say they believe in a higher power, the percentage increases to nearly 90%. But when it comes to the God of the Bible, the percentages drop dramatically. Let's just say that there are an understandably healthy number of agnostics out there, and you might count yourself among them. An agnostic doesn't necessarily reject God himself as much as the possibility of knowing whether God exists. Rather than say, I don't know if there is a God, they say, I cannot know if there is a God. Or even beyond that, which God? So let's start with whether a God even exists. The Christian faith very much believes in a God who is there and who has not been silent. But why would a thinking person believe such a thing? Can the existence of God be proven or be substantiated in any way? Obviously, you cannot put God into a test tube for examination. You cannot prove that God exists, at least by normal scientific methods, because a scientific method depends upon, largely, repetition. There are certain things that cannot be contained or repeated to be scientifically proven. If something cannot be examined beyond our five senses, then you cannot use science to either prove or disprove it. However, just because you can't repeat something doesn't mean it isn't real. I mean, think about something like love. No one has ever seen love, but we all know it's real. No one has ever smelled freedom, but it exists. And of course, God, by almost any definition, would be very hard to examine by human measures. So instead of a chemical reaction in a test tube that would somehow reveal God's existence, those who are wanting Christians to explain their belief should instead look for evidence that would support whether it is reasonable to believe in the existence of God. Signs, if you will, of his existence. Christians believe that those signs exist. Such evidence exists in abundance, beginning with something as simple as, well, think about cause and effect. Most of us have ventured out on a clear night to look up and stare at the stars. During moments like those, it is natural to reflect not only on the vastness of the universe, but to wonder how it came into being. Only recently has the idea that the world was created by a personal God been dismissed by some as intellectually absurd. The late coming idea is that there was no creative event at all. The late astronomer Carl Sagan opened up his best-selling book, Cosmos, by saying, the cosmos is all that is or ever was or ever will be. But the most recent findings of science are turning us back to, if not a God, the reality of a creation event. For example, the second law of thermodynamics states that the universe is running out of usable energy. And if it's running out of energy, then it cannot be eternal and must have at one time been given an initial start of energy. Something does not wind down unless it has been wound up. These ideas related to the second law of thermodynamics have been supported through the leading hypothesis for the beginning of the universe, which is the Big Bang Theory. The idea of the Big Bang was first put forward by Dr. Edwin Hubble, the man we named the Hubble Space Telescope after. His theory was that at one time all matter was packed into a dense mass at temperatures of many trillions of degrees. Then around 13.8 billion years ago, there was a huge explosion. And from that explosion, all of the matter that today forms our planets and stars was born, and the universe as we know it was created. Hubble's idea was actually confirmed through what has been called the discovery of the past century. On April 24th, 1992, the Cosmic Background Explorer satellite, better known as COBE, gave stunning confirmation of the hot Big Bang creation event after investigating the cosmic microwave background radiation of the universe. In many ways, it really was the birth of modern cosmology. And for many people, the birth of a belief in God. It is known that something cannot come from nothing. We also know that the universe isn't eternal. Yet, according to the Big Bang Theory, something did come from nothing. The problem is that you can't just say everything began with the Big Bang and act as if you somehow explain the origins of the universe, because that still doesn't explain where the matter that exploded came from. In lay terms, where did the stuff that got banged come from and who banged it? Something or someone somehow brought that first matter miraculously into existence in such a way that it exploded into the universe. This something had to exist outside of space and time, because space and time didn't exist before the Big Bang. Anyone in the scientific community would agree that this could not have happened according to the current laws of physics, which means we're talking about something outside of the laws of physics, something outside of all natural phenomena. There's a category for this. If something is outside of natural phenomena, it's called supernatural. And that puts us in God territory. This really is worth wrestling with. If the universe could not have come into being by itself from nothing, because it is a scientific impossibility that absolute nothingness could produce anything, and if the universe isn't eternal, and there really was a creation event through the Big Bang, well, the questions raised earlier still remain. Where did the matter that exploded come from, and who caused the explosion? George Smoot, head of the COBE satellite team, who, along with a partner, won the Nobel Prize in Physics in 2006 for their work on the project, noted that when the COBE satellite measured the ripples in the microwave background radiation that gave confirmation of the Big Bang Theory, he said it was like looking at God. Dr. Robert Jastrow, professor of astronomy at both Columbia University and Dartmouth College, who was also director of the Mount Wilson Institute, manager of the Mount Wilson Observatory, director of NASA's Goddard Institute for Space Studies for 20 years, he made the following comment on this. Now we see how the astronomical evidence leads to a biblical view of the origin of the world. And he went further, saying, for the scientist who has lived by his faith and the power of reason, the story ends like a bad dream. He has scaled the mountains of ignorance. He is about to conquer the highest peak. And as he pulls himself over the final rock, he is greeted by a band of theologians who have been sitting there for centuries.